Some people's wings are so radiant that even the darkest prison in the world cannot confine them for long. Let's revisit the classic The Shawshank Redemption. A prison transport vehicle pulls into Shawshank Prison. Andy calmly observes the crazed prisoners outside the barbed wire. At first glance, Andy's delicate appearance suggests he won't adapt to prison life. Red bets 10 cigarettes on Andy, wagering that he will be the first to cry tonight. The warden starts preaching with a Bible in hand. A voice interrupts with, "When's dinner?" The warden's glare leads to the speaker being beaten severely. After being hosed down with high-pressure water, the prisoners are doused in disinfectant. The first night in prison is the hardest. With the first sobs from Fat Ass, the prisoners begin to applaud. Red's misjudgment piques his interest in Andy. Andy was a banker, falsely accused of murdering his wife. The judge sentenced him to life in prison. Andy rarely speaks to anyone, and his demeanor sets him apart. A month later, Andy approaches Red. Red is the prison's black market dealer. For a price, he can get anything. Andy asks Red to procure a rock hammer. Red jokes, "Are you planning to tunnel out?" Andy replies that he just enjoys rock carving. When Red sees the hammer, his concerns vanish. Digging a tunnel with that hammer would take 600 years. Red bribes Brooks, the old librarian, with a pack of cigarettes. Brooks hands Andy a Bible and a hammer. The sisters' gang had been eyeing Andy. Unwilling to submit, Andy suffers beatings from them. 2 years later, one day, the warden announces a lottery to select 12 men to tar the prison roof. Red bribes a guard to secure a spot on the work crew. Andy is lucky to be chosen too. This outing is about to change Andy's life trajectory. While working, Andy overhears a guard's conversation. The guard is troubled about not being able to inherit his brother's estate entirely. Boldly, Andy approaches the guard, offering a solution to get the full inheritance. The prisoners are astonished by Andy's move. The guard is skeptical. Andy states his condition. "I can prepare the paperwork for free. Just give my fellow inmates each a bottle of beer." Andy's banking background leads the guard to trust him. Under the sun, the prisoners enjoy their beers happily. This event earned Andy the respect of his fellow inmates. After that, Andy and Red became good friends, often playing chess together. Seeing the names carved on the wall by previous inmates, Andy wanted to carve his own. Andy asked Red to get him a poster of a movie star. The sisters' gang targeted Andy again. Andy refused their demands and was beaten up once more. In gratitude for Andy's help, the warden dealt with the sisters' gang. Red gave Andy a free poster, which became the perfect cover for his escape. Suddenly, the warden announced a surprise inspection. The guards found nothing in Andy's cell. The warden took Andy's Bible to hide the hammer inside the Bible. Andy recited Bible verses. The warden was impressed by Andy's piety and returned the Bible to him. Andy was still unsure why he was assigned to manage the library. Brooks was happy about Andy's arrival as it lightened his workload. A guard approached Andy for help with his child's education fund. Andy's banking skills proved useful. Brooks happily shared Andy's story with everyone. The library became Andy's office for handling the guard's tax issues. When things got busy, Andy enlisted Red's help. One day, Brooks held a prisoner hostage. Andy talked Brooks down. Andy learned that Brooks was to be released the next day. After 50 years in prison, Brooks feared life on the outside. Red explained that prison is a strange place. First, you hate it, then you get used to it, and finally, you can't live without it. This is called institutionalization. Brooks, unable to face the outside world, tried to extend his sentence through crime. The next day, Brooks left the prison in an outdated suit. The sight of cars everywhere was overwhelming for him. Though Brooks found a job, he couldn't adapt. He often woke up terrified at night. Brooks carved his name into his room wall to prove he existed. Feeling abandoned by society, Brooks chose to end his life. After multiple requests, Andy received government donations of books and $500 for the library. Andy found an old record among the donations. Risking solitary confinement, Andy played the record over the PA system. The music soothed the inmates' souls. The warden put Andy in solitary confinement for a month. Red had been in Shawshank for 30 years. Yet, his parole application was denied once again. To commemorate 10 years of friendship, Andy gave Red a harmonica. Red gave Andy a Marilyn Monroe poster in return. Music could finally be enjoyed in the newly built reading room. The warden held a press conference to promote Shawshank. The warden assigned Andy the task of laundering his dirty money. After each job, the ledger would be locked away in the warden's safe. One day, a new inmate named Tommy arrived. Tommy's arrival brought a lot of joy to everyone. Tommy asked Andy to teach him so he could earn his high school diploma. Andy set up a small blackboard in the library and taught Tommy daily. One day, Tommy shared a story with Andy and Red. In his previous prison, a convict confessed to killing a man and a woman who were having an affair. The woman's husband, a banker, was framed and sentenced to life in prison. Hearing this gave Andy newfound hope for freedom. Andy approached the warden to reopen his case. The warden, unwilling to let someone who knew his secrets go free, refused. Even when Andy promised to keep quiet, Andy's hope for freedom was shattered. The warden put Andy in solitary confinement. Thanks to Andy's help, Tommy earned his diploma. Tommy was summoned to a restricted area of the prison by the warden. The warden shot Tommy, claiming he was trying to escape. The warden visited Andy in solitary confinement after a month. Learning about Tommy's death, Andy realized he couldn't gain freedom through normal means. One day, Andy and Red were chatting. Andy told Red about a tin box buried under a tree in Buxton. If Red ever got out, he should retrieve it as it held Andy's hope. Seeing Andy's anxious demeanor, Red grew worried. Andy finished his work and put the ledger in the safe. He walked back to his cell, pretending to be calm. Red noticed something unusual about Andy that day. Andy took out a rope he had prepared. Watching the storm outside, Red sensed that something extraordinary was about to happen that night. During roll call, Andy's cell remained silent. The guards discovered that Andy had vanished. The warden summoned Red for questioning. Red had no idea what had happened. The warden threw a rock, which tore a hole in the poster on Andy's wall. Behind the poster, they found Andy's escape tunnel. The warden organized a search for Andy. They found his clothes and the small hammer in a creek. It turned out that while Andy was carving his name on the wall, a large piece had fallen off. Seeing the walls lose composition, Andy decided to dig a tunnel. Every night, Andy dug a bit, and during the day, he scattered the dirt on the yard. Andy replaced the warden's ledger with a fake one and put it in the safe. He also stole a suit from the warden and put on his new shoes. On a stormy night, Andy put his belongings in a plastic bag and crawled through the tunnel he had spent 20 years digging. Andy tied the plastic bag to his foot and crawled out of the prison. Using the storm to cover his sounds, Andy smashed the sewer pipe open. After several attempts, he managed to break through and crawl 500 yards through the filthy sewer. Andy emerged from the sewer into a creek, finally able to breathe freer. At a border bank, Andy withdrew $370 using the warden's fake identity. He also mailed evidence of the warden's corruption to the press. The warden saw his bribery exposed in the newspapers. The warden took the ledger from his safe. Realizing Andy had swapped the ledgers, the warden prepared to flee. Authorities arrived at Shawshank. With no way out, the warden chose to end his life. Red received a postcard from Andy. Seeing the marked address, Red knew Andy had gained his freedom. Andy drove along the roads of Mexico. Inmates often talked about Andy's escape. Red, without much hope, expressed his true feelings. To his surprise, the young parole board approved his release. Red walked out of Shawshank. He moved into the room where Brooks had stayed, doing the same job as Brooks. Red struggled to adapt to society. Red remembered his promise to Andy. He went to the tree in Buxton. In the tin box, Red found a letter and some money from Andy. Andy reminded Red to always have hope. Red carved his name on the room wall. Instead of following Brooks' path, Red boarded a bus to Mexico. Andy and Red reunited on the beautiful beach of Zihuatanejo.